secret of history that couldn't stay hidden forever.
Someone is finally poking their nose about.
It was a prize too rich to ignore.
Well, that would mean that the crown jewels residing in the Tower of London are fakes.
Absolutely.
Now all the world wants what Dr. Abner Mellon has found. And only one man stands beside him. From the director of Ernest Goes to Camp comes a compelling story of man overcoming obstacles.
Ow! I did it!
Of people thrown together by fate.
Nobody's driving the truck! Welcome to my world.
And a really big cannon stuffed with jewels that just might change the world.
England will have a new king.
Stand back, you groveling minions, and prepare to meet your sovereign.
Ernest rides again.
Ernest, are you dead?
Oh, I guess I would be if I weren't just that close to being an actual cartoon.
This time, he's packing firepower. Ernest rides again. You'll want to bring the whole family.
Oh, no, Sahib. My whole family, rest their souls, were in this way grossly abused.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dr. Nick, and welcome back to the 90s Guys Show. Today, I wanted to talk about two of my favorite comedians, childhood favorite movies that I watched. Number one is Jim Varney, also known as Ernest Pee Worrell, and Paul Rubin, also known as Pee Wee Herman. Now, if you were a kid during the 80s, early 90s, you remember the Ernest movies, and you remember the Pee-wee's Playhouse TV show, and the two movies that came out, Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Big Top Pee-wee. Then, of course, the one that came out, I think it was last year, Pee-wee's Big Holiday, which was a really good movie with him and Joe Manganiello. Really good movie, really lived up to the hype, super awesome. But I'm going to go through and talk about some of the things that I remember from both. Unfortunately, Ernest passed away many years ago. I think it was 2000 is when he passed, which is very unfortunate. He died of lung cancer, which really sucks. I never knew he was a smoker. Apparently, he was a heavy chain smoker, but he never let himself be photographed or smoked around kids or anyone, you know, that he could be impressionable on. Pee Wee Herman is still alive. You know, he got in trouble with the X-rated theater incident many years ago, back in I think like 91. He's, you know, well past that, but unfortunately the Playhouse show got canceled. But I'm going to go through my collection of the videos and just kind of talk about it. Feel free to comment down below, like this video. Hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more of this content. Check out my other videos. Also, go to fnx.network and check out my podcast. It's called Slamcast. I talk about professional wrestling, pop culture, current events, all different kinds of cool stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Here we've got the Pee-wee's Playhouse Christmas Special DVD. I picked this up for $1. This was the Christmas special that came out in 1988. This was an episode that was, you know, obviously Christmas. There was guest stars such as Oprah Winfrey, Charo, Little Richard, Magic Johnson, Whoopi Goldberg, Charo. I mean, there's just a huge... Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon. I mean, there's just a huge number of 80s and 90s stars that were on this Christmas special. I remember watching this when I was a kid. And then when I have the VHS tape as well, but I saw this and I had to pick it up to add to my collection. This came out in, let's see, what year was this? 2004? I can't believe they're that old. But this is box sets of 1 and 2 of season 1 and 2 and season 3, 4, and 5. These are the Playhouse series that aired on CBS, and this is the full collections. Now these go for quite a bit now, around 40 or 50 bucks. I paid, I think, $5 for the both of them, which is really awesome. Super excited. Include lost shows never released. There's also 2 lost shows that were never released on the first pack. And I mean, if anybody watched this show when they were a kid, they know how awesome it really was. They had a lot of guest stars. You know, it wasn't always just about the cartoons and the characters. It actually taught you lessons in a lot of really unique ways that kids could, you know, relate to. You know, you had characters of a talking chair, a magic screen, a robot. I mean, it was just really cool. Such great memories. I'm so glad that I've picked this up. Such a nostalgic, great memory these shows bring back. It's fantastic. Big Top Pee Wee. Now, this wasn't one of my favorite movies of his. This one came out in 1988. It wasn't the greatest, but it was pretty good. Pee Wee ran off to be in the circus. Well, basically, a storm blows an entire circus into his yard, and he falls in love with a trapeze artist, and it's a good movie. It's not bad. It would probably be one of my favorite movies growing up. So, let's see. Chris Christopherson is in it. He plays the ringleader. He also has a talking pig, which is hilarious. This is probably, what year did this one come out? 1985. This Pee Wee's Big Adventure is probably my number one favorite 80s movie of all time, besides Back to the Future. I rented this movie so many times from the video store. I probably wore the tape out, and I wanted to buy that tape so much, but they wouldn't sell it to me. During that time, VHS tapes were very expensive. So, I finally got the VHS copy, and then when I seen this at a thrift store, I had to pick it up and add this to my DVD collection. Now, on to my other favorite comedian / childhood, funny guy, Ernest Pee Worrell, real name Jim Varney. This was Ernest Goes to Camp, which this came out in, let me look for a date here. I should have looked at these dates before I did this, but I don't have an exact date here. But he started doing commercials. He had a show called Hey Vern, It's Ernest. He was just a really funny guy. Ernest, from what I understand, Jim Varney was a genuine person in real life too. He was supposedly a really great guy, really down to earth. He loved entertaining people. I've watched interviews with some of his friends, and they say that Jim had such a fun time and loved when people wanted to come up and talk to him. And when they said, "Hey, we love your movies," and Ernest as the character was, I don't know what it was exactly about the movies. I mean, they were goofy. You look back on them, and they're really corny, but they're so good. There's just so much quality comedy in it, and I think, and nowadays, people have forgotten how to laugh, how to just let go and relax and just, chill out. And, I pop one of these movies in and relive some of, fond memories of renting these at the video store. Ernest Goes to Camp. He plays a maintenance guy at a camp. What was the name of the camp? I can't remember what the name of the camp was. I don't know why I can't. Oh, Camp Kikiki. It's a Native American camp based on tradition, and he wants to be a camp counselor so bad, and he gets these group of second chance kids that were in a juvenile institution, and he tries to help them out, and there's this company that comes in and tries to destroy the camp. They want to buy the rights to the land for some compound named Petricide for the space program, and Ernest has to save the day from the construction company coming in and destroying the camp. My other movie, which Ernest Goes to Jail, very good one. He is on jury duty. He works at a bank, and he gets called to jury duty. Now, there's a guy in jail named Nash that looks exactly like him. So when he goes into the prison, they knock him out. The guy who looks like him takes his clothes and gets out, and then Ernest is mistaken for this Nash guy. So Ernest has to figure out how to get out of jail, save his friends, and stop Nash from robbing the bank. Another really great film. Let's see if this one has a date on it. I don't know why these don't have dates on them. I don't know. But anyways, you can look them up if you like on Google or, Wikipedia, stuff like that. But this was another really great one. This would have to be one of my favorites, right up there with Ernest Goes to Camp. Another classic. I love this one. Ernest Scared Stupid. Now, does this one have a date on it? This one does not have a date on it either. All these movies were done by Touchstone. Very good movie. Very funny. This one, I want to say it came out in like 92, but I'm not positive. Ernest's family was, back in the day, supposedly, many, many years ago, his great-grandfather banished this troll into the ground after it kidnapped kids and tried to unleash monsters on the world. Ernest finds this tree in the forest. He's hanging out with these kids, and he builds a tree house. He knocks on the tree, and the troll is awakened and comes to life and tries to attack the city, and Ernest has to figure out how to save the city from the troll and his monsters. Lots of slapstick comedy, lots of crude humor. Typical Ernest movie, very good though, very classic. You don't have to watch it just as Halloween, you can watch it anytime. Now this one I wasn't a huge fan of. This one came out a little bit later. This one's called Ernest Rides Again. This one was actually put out by Lionsgate. This one actually has a date on it, 93. This one stars Ernest. He works as a maintenance guy again, and he befriends this professor, and this professor is trying to prove a theory of these ancient people that lived at a certain time. They find this cannon, supposedly the crown jewels are in it, and they go on this big misadventure. It's not one of my favorite Ernest movies, but it's still really good. Still a classic Jim Varney film. I definitely recommend it. This one's actually kind of rare. I don't see this very much. I picked this up at, it says $12.99, but I didn't pay that. I picked this up at Just Replay for $4, I think. This one's actually a lot rarer than what you would imagine. This one's actually a 3-pack. It's got Ernest in the Army, Ernest Goes to Africa, and Ernest Goes to School. All three of these films are not the greatest, but I'll basically describe them for you. Ernest Goes to School. He's a janitor at the school. Go to find out that he dropped out of high school, and you have to have a high school diploma to work at the school. He doesn't think he can pass the test, so two friends of his invent this machine to make him super smart. Well, obviously, you know what goes wrong. He becomes sort of a jerk. His friends mess with him, turn off the machine, make him go back to being kind of doofy. But all in all, not a bad movie. Ernest Goes to Africa and Ernest Goes in the Army. It's not really the best two Ernest movies. They were released later in his career. From what I understand, the last movie that they were going to do was called Ernest the Pirate. And it was like right before he passed away. I don't know if it was ever actually finished filming or not. But this is a 3-pack that I picked up. All 3 of them on there. Pretty decent films. This is another one. This one stars Jim, obviously Jim Varney, Abdul Jabbar. This one, he works at a mall as a janitor, and he works for this company, and they all play basketball. He wants to play basketball so bad. He wants to play basketball with his friends. This guy gives him these special shoes. They give him powers to play basketball really well. They start going through this tournament, winning a bunch, and then he realizes that, he should, give up the shoes and, let his team win, the right way and not just, cheating with the shoes. But the movie's very good. It came out in '95. It's not a bad film. The Kareem Abdul-Jabbar plays a cameo in it. It's a pretty decent film. It's not bad. But all in all, all of these movies, between the Ernest movies and the Pee Wee's Playhouse and The Big Adventure and The Big Top Pee Wee, these movies, a lot of people nowadays might think they're really cheesy, corny. Kids who didn't grow up watching them, they might see them and they go, oh, these are awful. But these movies have a lot of sentimental value to me. Like I said, if a movie or a song from your past can make you feel good, make you remember better times, why not? It doesn't hurt anybody. To me, it's actually very good. There's a lot of music that I listen to from growing up. Every once in a while, I'll pop in one of these DVDs if I'm having a bad day, or even if I'm not having a bad day. And it brings me back to a, more simpler, just better time, I guess. Not adulting that day. But anyways, thank you for watching. I appreciate everyone who has subscribed, everyone who has commented, everyone who has liked the video. Check out my other videos. I appreciate everyone. But anyways, I will see you later.